Hey, what is up, guys? Today I wanted to share with you my experience on using Google Jules. Google Jules is an asynchronous coding agent, and it does the task that you do not want to do. It's actually pretty good at it. I tested it out yesterday, and I did a few things which I wanted to go over with you. The cool thing about Jules is it will look at your GitHub repository and then create a new branch based off of your prompts. So, Jules is pretty cool, and if you don't have any coding friends, you need a coding buddy, I'd say you should try Jules out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and dive deeper into this. Let's take a look. Okay, so before I get started with my review on Jules, I wanted to give you a little context. I've been working on an open source project just for fun called Ninetales. And here we can see I have two contributors, Jules and I. Yeah, so Jules actually helped me write some of my code on my Spring Boot Angular application. So anyways, all you need to do is go to this jules.google and you can try out Jules right now. When you do, you have to sign up for an agreement, and after that you can connect it to your GitHub. Here I'm going to connect it to the organization open source project that I've been working on, Ninetales. Right now I'm adding Jules to my Ninetales GitHub repo. It's going to allow it to read and access metadata. After you get your GitHub repo configured, it should show up like this. So here I'm pointing to my Ninetales repo, but there's other repos in my organization as well. The main one I have it working on is the Ninetales core application. And what I like to do is point it to not the main branch, but a feature branch, like a prototype that I'm working on. On this sidebar over here, we can see that I ran a few queries. I started easy and then got a little harder, and then the last one I kind of tried to see how far I could push Jules. It didn't end well, so we'll see the results of that. But for the easy stuff, it seems to do really well. For example, the first thing I asked it, I wanted it to create a pull request. Obviously, you don't have to ask it to create a pull request or create a new branch. It does this. So you can just skip this part. But I said, I need you to work in this location of my Angular application. And I wanted it to create services that interacted with my controllers on Spring Boot. So I provided it where I wanted it to do its work, and then I also showed it where the controllers were located. The nice thing about this project is Jules doesn't need to assume too much. I have separate Spring Boot apps set up for each of my microservices in one repo. Obviously, that might not be the best idea, but it's up to you how you want to design your application. So once you give Jules a prompt, it will come up with a plan on what it's going to do. When you do that, if you don't do anything, it's going to auto approve the plan after a certain amount of time. So yeah, I haven't even figured out how to not approve the plan, but that's okay because it creates a whole new branch and it doesn't really affect your main repo or your main branch if you do it right. But yeah, so it will come up with a plan, and sometimes they'll ask you questions. And once it's ready, it will say what it has done, and then you can create a branch from there. And on the side here, they got this little code change where it shows you what code it changed while it was working on your request. So looking at this, it's actually pretty good. It wasn't that bad. it understood what my endpoints looked like, and it was able to make those basically these operations that could communicate with my controller. And this stuff is kind of boring, like boilerplate stuff, so it's a great task for Jules to work on. Then here I kind of gave it a little bit harder of a task. Well, not really hard of a task, but a task that's more related to the UI part. So in here, what I said is I wanted it to use those services that it created to communicate with my controllers and set it up in my settings component. And I also gave it the services it should be using to get this data. So once again, yeah, Jules comes up with a plan on what it's going to do, and then it will ask for your approval. And since this task was relatively easy, it was able to just whip it out pretty fast. One cool thing you can look here is I put these to-do comments, and I said, this is the area that I want you to work in. Find these to-do API, call APIs, and update them to use those new services that we created. Okay, so Jules isn't always going to be perfect in its approach. You might have to fix some things. So if you look at this pull request that it created based off that prompt, we can see Jules made the initial comment and it created the new branch. And then after that, I found some bugs in my code. So I started to think, is the AI smarter than me? And I'm the one who's flawed? But yeah, so here we can see if I click here, we can see the changes that Jules made to the code. And yes, obviously I told it to replace these to-do API calls. So that's one cool thing about Jules is I am actually writing a bunch of to-do comments to tell it what I need it to do. And then I tell it in the prompt, like, look in these areas to do work. And then also it will ignore to do implement this later. So I said only focus on this and you can ignore this, which is great. So it only focuses on the parts that you need it to look into. Obviously, this didn't work on the first go, so I had to make a little bit of changes. I found there was some issues on my back end, and Jules helped me discover that. I had some issues with my sequence generators. Yeah, and just some small changes, really, just like fixing the small stuff. So at this point, I feel like good about this app. I think it's great. It's really good at doing the stuff that you probably aren't interested in, or maybe you might need help understanding, and the AI can help you form good practices when generating your code. So I kind of use it as like a learning process as well. Like, I know how to do these things, but I wanted to confirm with the AI, is this the right way to do it? And apparently it did. It's been doing stuff that I would do. I'm not sure if that's because it's looking at my code and it's just mimicking what I'm doing, or if hopefully I'm just following good practices. So yeah, I mean, the AI revolution is coming and I think they might be taking our jobs. So I was like, what if I give Jules a really hard task and see how it performs? So I kind of confused the Jules a little bit here with this prompt. I said, I would like for you to look into this project and just recommend how it can be improved without making any improvements. So I think this confused the Jules a bit. Here are some things I want to focus on: pagination, admin, and user controls. So instead of having Jules focus on a very specific area of my code, I just said, look at all of my repo and give me some improvements that can be done. And so because I said recommend improvements without making any improvements, Jules kind of said, okay, I've come up with an idea and I know what I need to do, but it never showed me anything. It didn't show me like what code it wanted to change. So I had to prompt it. I said, provide the analysis and recommendation and show me the changes in a new branch. Like after a while, it was like, I have done the job. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know where the work is. But eventually, I finally got it to produce the code, and it actually made a lot of changes here. So initially, when you start running code with Jules, it does get a little hectic, and there's a lot of going on. So as a human, it's hard for me to kind of debug what needs to be fixed here. Anyway, so I'll show you what this pull request looks like that Jules made on my recommendation for improvements. And what I need to do is just look at this deeper so I can tweak some things, and I think it might work after that. But when I tried to run these changes on my local computer, I'll do that right now. It obviously did not work from the get-go. I was actually hoping it was going to work right off the bat, but that wasn't the case. So hopefully we're kind of safe for now. Maybe not. Anyways, as you can see here, I switched to the feature branch that Jules created for my core improvements. And I'm just going to try and run it right now. We're going to see there's just like immediate errors off the bat. And I haven't changed any of the code that Jules wrote. So right off the bat, it was missing an array list, which was missed importing the array list, which was kind of funny. Okay, and then let's try and run it. Okay, so apparently changes that Jules made broke the UI, but it appears that the backend Spring Boot part might still be working. So if I was interested in taking this further, I might explore the changes Jules made and then try and tweak them to get it working with the UI. But right now, I feel like there's other things I would like to look into before I start doing that. And I want to just give Jules these repetitive tasks that I don't want to work on. Okay, so to give a little context here, this is the app that I've been working on. So this is Ninetales, my open source project that I've been working on. And I'll show you the parts that Jules helped me implement just yesterday. So if I go into my account settings, Jules helped me create this token manager that I've been working on, and then we also created the process to get the tail data from the database. So all those services I showed you earlier, this is just getting all that data, and then we can do these actions where I can add new levels or I can add new statuses. I can remove statuses, remove types. All this was, Jules helped me write this, so it's actually pretty cool. And yeah, we also created this token manager. Obviously, as you can see, I'm a little rusty on my Angular, so having Jules help me as a UI peer programmer has been really useful. Here we can see I created the token. It's hidden if you're not clicked on it. When you click on it, you can see the token. You can revoke the token. You can enable it. You can delete the token. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so I wanted to give a little demo of Jules in action working on my UI. There's a feature that I want to implement, which is this preferred alert types. And what I want to do is give the user an option to select the preferred alert types based off of these tail types that exist. And so the idea is the user will be alerted on their preferred alert types. So what I like to do personally is have Jules work on one of my feature branches. So I created this feature tail prototype that I want it to base its changes on. Few other things I did to prep Jules for what I want it to do is I added some to-do comments with information in my code. So I said to do implement this, rewrite this to retrieve available tail types from the service that we created. And then also another to do here. So these methods I've kind of set up and then I'm explaining what I need it to do. And then there's example code that it needs to replace. So rewrite this to retrieve the alert types from the API and extend upon the tail type create process to save users preferred tail types. So here I'm going to see if it can make changes to my API and my liquid base, which is my database migration tool, to see if it will make a new table. We'll see how far we can push it here. So the goal is to get Jules to work on these methods here that I haven't finished yet. And we want a bunch of checkboxes here where the user can save their preferred tail types or alert types. Now that I've prepped the code for Jules, I'm ready to submit my prompt and see what it can do. Okay, so here's the prompt that I am going to go with. What I did is there is a specific area I want Jules to work in first, and it is this settings component. So what I like to do is copy the path for where I need Jules to look. So here, so I would copy that and put it in my prompt. So I say, I want you to look into this location, the settings component, and focus on the to do implement this comments that I have near the bottom here. The goal is to create a space where users can select and save their preferred tail types. The tail type should be coming from the API tail type controller. Make sure you are using the tail type service to get the data. If you want, you can explore implementing saving the user's preferred tail types in the Ninetails API and the Ninetails liquid-based directories. For now, the save button can be mocked if you decide not to implement the backend features needed to save the user's preferred tail types. So I want Jules to focus on the settings page, and I'm going to give it the liberty to explore the other directories. We'll see what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and see what it does here. So we can see Jules is starting to boot up, and it has come up with a plan on what it's going to do. So we can see here it's going to approve and auto approve in 2 minutes. So I got to look at this quickly. Modify the update alert type options. Implement say preferred types. Update remove alert type. Add tests for the new functionality. I'm not sure why it needs to do this. After deleting ensure. Okay, that's sound. Add tests to the new functionality. Okay. Nice. Backend implementation optional. Modify to add an endpoint to save the user's preferred tail types. And it's also going to look in the liquid base. So I'm going to approve this plan and see what it does. Okay, so as Joule works on the plan, once it starts compiling the information, you're going to see a little tab on the side or a little button on the side where you can see the code changes that it's making. Also, I guess I'm almost at my daily limit. Apparently, I'm maxing out here. Hopefully, it'll be able to run this request because I'm almost maxed out on this. Yeah, I'm using it too much apparently. So we can see it made one line of change so far. Okay. It's cooking. And it has looked in my to-do implement this methods. And it's replaced it with, I guess it uncommented out what I commented. Okay. Okay, so while Tails is cooking, we can see what it's doing. So right now it's writing the unit test for the settings component to cover the changes made. And then now we have a spec file that just showed up with some unit tests. Okay, wow. Very nice. All right, so it looks like Jules decided not to look into the API or database. It will mock the save, which is nice. I'm fine with that. And here it's explaining the changes it made. And if you like what it did here, you can review them here. You can go ahead and create a branch based on these changes. So I'm going to create a branch and then I'm going to run it on my local to see what it did and if it works. Okay, so Jules was successful. It created a new branch called feet preferred tail types. I'm going to click on this link to view the branch and compare the changes. I'm going to point this over to my prototype branch and let's create a pull request. So Jules will fill out the details saying what it changed. So modify the settings to fetch tail types, updated this method. Okay, looks sound to me. I'm going to go ahead and copy this branch and pull it up on my local. So here I'm going to, whoops, I'm going to go in here and check out that branch. Git checkout. Actually, let's do a git fetch first. And now we can check it out. Oh, whoops, git check out. Typos. Okay, so I switched to the new branch. We can see there have been some changes done to this file. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun my application, get the Angular start up and running. Just restart this for good measure. And yeah, so it looks like it made some changes and we're going to go ahead and review these changes. All right, so it's the moment of truth. The Angular application's up and running. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here. Obviously, when I restart my API, I got to log in again. Go to the account settings. Okay. All right, so it looks like it did what I asked. We have my tail types that are coming from the database, and it's displaying them here as well. I'm going to try and add a tail type here. New user created. Wow, and it populated here as well. This is cool. And then I can select the tail types I want to be alerted on. And the save preferences, it hasn't been implemented yet, but this is exactly what I wanted it to do. This is amazing. Okay guys, so yeah, that was my experience on using Jules with my Spring Boot and Angular application. I think Jules is great and it's really impressive. Definitely good for doing the boring stuff, or if you're trying to understand like what's a good way to improve your code. Now, I did push it to its limit and try to make it perform some super optimizations, which didn't work out, or maybe I just need to look deeper into it. But with this simple stuff, I didn't even have to make any code changes. I was able to just use the changes Jules implemented. And I think I'm going to merge this in. So if you need a coding buddy who can help you with tasks, I definitely recommend Jules. And look, when it contributes, it even shows up as you're one of the contributors. So I'm not alone working on this project now. Cool. Well, yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you later next time.